Let's cut the crap. Some people are a black hole for your happiness. You know the ones. You spend an hour with them and leave feeling exhausted, like you ran a marathon in a swamp. While they lecture you about your choices, we slap the label toxic on them. Dramatic, but accurate. A toxic person consistently adds negativity and chaos to your life. They aren't just having a bad day. They operate on a different, more damaging frequency. Learning to spot these folks early isn't about being paranoid. It's about being the bouncer at the club of your life, protecting your most valuable, non-renewable resource, your time and mental energy. Why is this so damn important? Because these people will bleed you dry. They will drain your emotional bank account until you're overdrawn. They are the subtle, slow-leaking poison. One of the first and most obvious signs is a relentless, soul-crushing negativity. This person is a connoisseur of complaining. Every silver lining has a cloud for them. You tell them you got a promotion, and they'll say, "Oh, so you'll be working more hours for less appreciation, huh?" You're excited about a vacation, and they'll list all the things that could go wrong. Bed bugs, plane crashes. Their default setting is cynical, critical, dismissive. At first, you might mistake this for realism or a dry sense of humor. You might even find their sarcastic commentary amusing for a short while. But spend enough time with them, and you'll notice that their negativity is a fog that seeps into everything, leaving you feeling heavy and drained. They often thrive on gossip, bad news, and pointing out the flaws in everyone and everything. It's how they relate to the world. A friend of mine, let's call him Dave, started dating someone who was the queen of this. Every time Dave shared a success, she'd find a way to poke a hole in it. When he was proud of a project at work, she'd zero in on one tiny, insignificant mistake. After a few months, Dave stopped sharing good news with her altogether. He realized he was preemptively managing her reaction, bracing himself for the inevitable negative spin. That's the effect these people have. They train you to expect the worst, both from them and from life. Why do they do this? Often, it's a reflection of their own deep-seated unhappiness or insecurity. Misery loves company, and by pulling you down to their level, they feel less alone in their own negativity. It's a twisted way of connecting. If they can't lift themselves up, they'll try to drag you down to where they are. This isn't your problem to fix. You are not a therapist, and it is not your job to be a perpetual cheerleader for someone who is committed to being miserable. Your only job is to protect your own mental state from their corrosive influence. This requires you to be deliberate and firm in your interactions. So, what's the action plan? First, limit your exposure. You don't have to announce your departure from their fan club. Just become less available. Keep conversations short and superficial. When they start their complaint fest, don't engage. Don't argue. Don't try to cheer them up. And definitely don't add your own complaints to the fire. Instead, create a hard pivot. Say something like, "That sounds tough." On a different note, "Did you see that new movie? I hear you. Anyway, I've got to run." You are refusing to be a trash can for their negativity. You're teaching them, through your actions, that you are not the audience for their misery monologue. It's a boundary, and it's a necessary one. Boundaries are the invisible fences we build to protect our time, energy, emotional well-being. Healthy people see those fences, respect them, and maybe even admire your landscaping. Toxic people, on the other hand, see your boundaries as a personal challenge. They are boundary bulldozers. You say, "I can't talk right now, I'm busy," and they'll text you 5 more times. "Are you mad at me?" You tell a friend you need a quiet weekend alone, and they show up at your door with a 6-pack, acting like they're doing you a favor. Their needs, wants, feelings always take precedence over the limits you've clearly communicated. This behavior is a massive, flashing, neon red flag. When someone repeatedly ignores your no, they are telling you your comfort and needs are irrelevant. They believe they are entitled to your time, attention, emotional labor. I once knew a guy who was a master of this. Let's call him Kevin. He was dating a woman, Sarah, who was very independent. She told him early on she needed her personal space. She told him she needed time with her own friends. Kevin would agree to her face, then call her incessantly when she was out. He'd text her friends to ask where she was. He'd get sulky. He'd get passive-aggressive if she didn't drop everything to answer his call. He framed it as caring, but it wasn't care. It was control. He was testing her boundaries, pushing them a little further each time. It was a slow, methodical dismantling of her autonomy. Your move: be as clear and unyielding as a brick wall. Don't soften your no. Don't say, "I'm sorry, but I can't." Just say, "No, that doesn't work for me." If they push, you don't need a 10-page essay. Simply repeat your boundary. As I said, "I'm not available tonight." Think of yourself as a broken record. They push, you repeat. They try to guilt you, you repeat. The goal isn't to win an argument, it's to hold your line. If they consistently can't respect basic requests, create distance. A bulldozer can't run you over if you're not standing in its path. Few things are more infuriating than dealing with someone who is completely allergic to accountability. This is the blame thrower. Nothing is ever their fault. Ever. If they're late for a meeting, it's because of traffic, their alarm clock, a slow barista. If they hurt your feelings, it's because you're too sensitive. You misunderstood what they meant. They have a PhD in deflection and an arsenal of excuses that would impress a politician. They live in a reality bubble where they are the perpetual victim of circumstances and other people's incompetence. Taking responsibility would require them to admit they are flawed, and their ego is too fragile for that. This pattern is toxic because it makes genuine resolution and growth impossible. Narrator: consider this little scene. Mark forgets to pay a bill on time, and the power gets shut off. His partner Jane comes home to a dark house. When she asks what happened, Mark launches into a tirade. "Well, you were the one who stressed me out so much yesterday that I couldn't concentrate on anything. And didn't you see the bill on the counter? You could have reminded me." In Mark's world, the fact that he was the one who was negligent is completely irrelevant. The blame must be externalized. He throws it at Jane like a hot potato. "Jane, brief. What happened?" This is not a partnership. It's a courtroom where you are always the defendant. When you spot this behavior, do not take the bait. Do not accept blame that isn't yours. You can calmly and firmly state the facts without getting emotional. The fact is, the bill was your responsibility, and it didn't get paid. Don't debate who is more stressed or who should have reminded whom. Stick to the objective reality. If they double down, disengage. "We're not going to solve this right now. Let's talk when you're ready to discuss what actually happened." People who cannot say "I'm sorry" or "I messed up" are not capable of being in a healthy, reciprocal relationship. It's a dead end. Don't waste your time driving down it. Manipulation is a sneaky and insidious form of control. It's not about direct orders. It's about pulling emotional strings to make you do what they want. Manipulators are experts at making you feel guilty. Manipulators are experts at making you feel confused. Manipulators are experts at making you feel obligated. They use your own emotions against you. A common tactic is the guilt trip. They'll say things like, "After everything I've done for you, you can't do this one little thing for me?" This isn't a request. It's an emotional invoice. It's designed to make you feel indebted. They position themselves as a martyr. They position themselves as a selfless giver. So when you refuse them, you feel like a selfish person. You feel ungrateful. You feel like a jerk. Another favorite tool is twisting your words. You'll say, "I'm feeling a bit tired tonight." And they'll respond, "So you're saying you don't want to spend time with me anymore? You think I'm boring?" They create a dramatic, distorted version to put you on the defensive. Instead of a quiet night in, you're reassuring them. You're apologizing. You're trying to undo damage they manufactured out of thin air. This controls the narrative and keeps you off balance. It's exhausting. And that's the point. Let me paint a picture for you. Sarah tells Emily she can't lend money this month. Emily doesn't just accept it. She sighs dramatically and says, "It's fine. I understand. I guess I'll just have to figure out how to pay my rent on my own. I hope I don't get evicted. But don't worry about me." She painted a bleak picture and implied Sarah caused it. She's leveraging compassion and guilt to manipulate Sarah. A healthy friend would respect the boundary. Your defense is clarity. Your defense is a strong sense of self. First, Learn to recognize the tactics. When you feel a sudden wave of guilt or obligation, pause. Ask yourself why. Is this a legitimate feeling, or is someone trying to install it in you? When they try to guilt you, name it. It sounds like you're trying to make me feel guilty. When they twist your words, correct them calmly. That's not what I said. What I said was, do not give in to emotional blackmail. It's a dangerous precedent. The more you give in, the more they'll use the tactic. Show through consistent action that their remote control doesn't work on you. In the early stages of a romance, a little bit of jealousy can feel flattering, like, oh, they care about me. But there's a razor-thin line between protective affection and possessive control, and toxic people pole vault that line with glee. Pathological jealousy isn't about love. It's about insecurity and a desire to own you. Who was that you were talking to? Why did that person like your photo? Where were you? Who were you with? They aren't seeking information. They are conducting an interrogation. They monitor your social media. They check your phone when you're not looking. They get angry when you spend time with friends or family. This stems from a profound lack of trust and a deep-seated fear of abandonment projected onto you. Instead of dealing with their own insecurities, they make it your job to manage their anxiety. You become responsible for proving your loyalty 24/7. This is impossible and exhausting. You find yourself changing your behavior to avoid triggering their jealousy. You stop talking to certain friends. You avoid social events. You censor your own life to keep the peace. You are living in a cage they built from their fears. This is not a healthy relationship. It's a hostage situation. I once coached a young man dating a woman who was intensely possessive. At first, he thought it was cute she wanted him all to herself. Soon, it escalated. She demanded the password to his email and social accounts. She'd call during his guy's night and insist he put the phone on speaker so she could hear who was there. If he didn't reply within 5 minutes, she accused him of cheating. He spent all his energy soothing her jealousy, a bottomless pit. The more he gave in, the more she demanded. He wasn't living his life. He was performing in hers. The only way to deal with this is to shut it down, hard and fast. Your privacy is non-negotiable. Your friendships are non-negotiable. Your autonomy is non-negotiable. Set clear, firm boundaries. You do not have the right to check my phone. I will continue to spend time with my friends. My past is my own. I'll share what I'm comfortable sharing. If they react with anger, with accusations, or with threats, that is all the information you need. That isn't love. Love fosters freedom and trust. Control fosters fear and resentment. Do not confuse the two. If someone needs to lock you in a cage to feel secure, they are the one with the problem, and you need to let yourself out. One of the most damaging toxic traits is the consistent belittling and invalidation of your feelings. This isn't always overt name-calling abuse. More often, it's a series of subtle digs, backhanded compliments, dismissive comments that slowly chip away at your self-esteem. They might make a joke about your new haircut in front of friends. That feels more mean than funny. They might say, "You're actually pretty smart for someone who didn't go to college." They use humor as a shield. And if you get upset, they'll hit you with the classic, "God, can't you take a joke? You're so sensitive." This tactic allows them to insult you with impunity and then blame you for your own hurt feelings. This behavior is a quiet poison. Each little jab, each dismissive eye roll when you try to express yourself, sends a clear message. Your feelings don't matter. Your perspective is wrong. Your reality is invalid. Over time, you start to believe it. You stop trusting your own emotional responses. You start to think that maybe you are too sensitive, that maybe you are overreacting. This emotional invalidation is a powerful tool for control because it makes you doubt your own judgment and depend on their version of reality. They become the arbiter of what is and isn't an acceptable way to feel. Imagine you're excited about a new hobby, like painting. You show your work to your partner, feeling vulnerable and hopeful. Instead of offering encouragement, they glance at it and say, "Oh, that's nice. Are you sure you want to hang that up?" The comment is designed to deflate you, to subtly put you back in your place. When they see the hurt on your face, they might quickly add, "I'm just being honest. You want me to be honest, don't you?" They frame their cruelty as a virtue, honesty, when it's really just a lack of empathy and a desire to maintain superiority. A supportive partner would find something positive to say, or offer constructive feedback with kindness. Your response to this requires you to reclaim your emotional authority. You get to decide what is and isn't okay. When they make a hurtful joke, you don't have to laugh along. You can say, calmly and without anger, "That's not funny to me. That comment was hurtful." Don't get into a debate about whether it was meant to be hurtful. The intent is irrelevant. The impact is what matters. If they dismiss you with, "You're too sensitive," reply, "Maybe, but it still hurt, and I'm asking you not to do it again." If they continue after you've made your feelings clear, they are showing you that they have no respect for you. And people who don't respect you don't deserve a front row seat in your life. Few behaviors are more disorienting than inconsistency. One day, this person is showering you with affection, telling you you're the most amazing person they've ever met. Warm, engaged, incredibly charming. You feel on top of the world. The next day, they're distant, cold, irritable for no apparent reason. One-word answers, ignore your texts, treat you like an annoyance. You're left scrambling, trying to figure out what you did wrong. What did you say? What did you do to cause this sudden shift? You're walking on eggshells, desperately trying to get back to the good version of them. This hot and cold cycle is a form of intermittent reinforcement. It's incredibly addictive and powerful. Think of a slot machine. You don't win every time. The occasional unpredictable payout keeps you pulling the lever. The toxic person gives you just enough good times to keep you hooked. This pattern keeps you in a constant state of anxiety and uncertainty. You're never able to relax because you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. The highs feel incredibly high because the lows are so painfully low. A friend of mine was in a relationship like this. Her boyfriend would go through phases. For a week, he would be the perfect partner, cooking dinner, planning dates, being incredibly affectionate. Then, like a switch was flipped, he became withdrawn and critical. He'd ignore her for days, reappear with a flimsy excuse. A grand romantic gesture would pull her back in. She spent years on this emotional roller coaster. Her self-worth rose and fell with his moods. She focused on trying to figure out his patterns. She tried to win his approval. She lost sight of her own needs and happiness. If you find yourself on this roller coaster, recognize the pattern for what it is: a manipulation tactic. It's not your job to manage their moods or to earn their kindness. Healthy relationships are built on consistency, emotional safety, not a chaotic cycle of reward and punishment. Start documenting the pattern, even just for yourself. Notice the good times often appear after you've pulled away, or when they want something. The only way to win this game is to refuse to play. Stop chasing the highs. Stop trying to fix the lows. Step off the ride. We've walked through some of the most common red flags: the chronic negativity, the boundary busting, the blame shifting, the manipulation, the jealousy, the subtle insults, and the emotional roller coaster. These aren't isolated incidents of someone having a bad day. They are consistent, destructive patterns of behavior. A toxic person is defined not by a single action, but by the cumulative effect they have on your well-being. If you consistently leave interactions with someone feeling drained, confused, anxious, or bad about yourself, that is the only data point you really need. Your feelings are a valid and powerful detection system. The most important tool you have in this process is your own intuition. That little voice in the back of your head, that knot in your stomach, that feeling of being off around someone, that's your gut talking. We often rationalize these feelings away. We tell ourselves we're being too sensitive, that we're imagining things, or that we should give them another chance. Stop doing that. Your intuition is a primitive survival mechanism honed over millennia. It's smarter than your rational brain, which is an expert at making excuses for people. Learn to listen to that gut feeling. If someone feels wrong, they probably are wrong for you. Trust yourself. Spotting these signs is the first step. The next, and often harder, step is acting on what you see. This doesn't always mean you have to have a dramatic confrontation and cut them out of your life forever, especially if it's a family member or a coworker. It can start small. Limit your contact. Keep your conversations superficial. Reinforce your boundaries. Stop being their emotional dumping ground. You can create distance emotionally and psychologically, even if you can't create it physically. You are reclaiming your power by deciding how much access someone gets to you and your inner world. Ultimately, protecting your peace is your responsibility. No one else is going to do it for you. It takes courage to admit that someone you care about is bad for you, and it takes strength to create distance. But your mental health is not a luxury. It's a necessity. You deserve to be surrounded by people who lift you up, who respect you, and who make you feel safe. So take a calm, honest look at the people in your life. Notice the patterns. Trust your gut. And then, take one small, firm step toward protecting your own peace. It is the most important and loving thing you can do for yourself.